Okay, let's get into it. Wanted to give you guys this video. I felt like today was a really good educational video. Way to end the month on a banger as well, right? Plan your trade, trade your plan. When you see this video, the live trading session will already be out, so you'll already basically see this and see my thought process behind this trade and so on. So let's get into it because I want to thoroughly break this down, and it's a big lesson here today. So, right, this is off the pre-market game plan, which was a pullback long off of 209.25. So I want to break this trade down a little bit thoroughly here, and then I'll get into the two main lessons that comes from today's video. Now, right? Go watch the pre-market game plan going into today's session, and you'll see everything that I'm talking about, and this will make sense to you. Now, the game plan coming into today was a break and retest over 209.25. Reason for that being is because I know, right, this is a key level here. We know that it's a higher probability setup because we'll also be over the previous day high. And, these are things that I do on how I build, my trades to ensure that they are a higher probability setup. I really hope that makes sense. So I'll zoom out here a little bit more, right? In that pre-market game plan, I said, as long as we're in between 225 and 203, I'm neutral on AMD. You can see I'm pretty much neutral here. We're not bullish bias, we're not bearish bias. But today, the reason I was looking for a long over 209 is because we can clearly see here. I mean, this was the same setup on Monday. Just mark out 209 on your chart, go look at Monday, and you'll see we got a break and retest on Monday, but I ended up skipping that trade. Key level here, the day before on Friday, acted as resistance, and then we can clearly see here last Thursday, it was support. So I took the shot today because I knew, hey, the only reason I like this is because we're over the previous day high. So that's going to increase the probabilities of this trade working out. Why? Because if price is above or below the previous day high or low, it's more likely to continue higher or lower. So that's already my thought process going into today. Now, it was on my close watch list coming into today because we opened above our key level 209.25. So I'm looking for the pullback long here. And I'm gonna break all this down very thoroughly. Uh, there's actually three lessons in this video. The last one is going to be the reclaim. I just gave you an educational video on how to play the reclaim, but we're going to get into that very shortly. Now, lesson number one. Actually, I got to start yesterday, to be honest. So 2 days in a row, our thesis was correct on AMD. Now, we know my rule, right? I don't trade the first 2 minutes of market open. So you can see here, yesterday, my thesis was correct. I was looking for this pop and fade. We know that if we're under 203, we are bearish bias. Pop and fade happens on the dot, but it's too aggressive. You guys know I don't trade that first 2 minute candle. My thesis was correct, but I wasn't able to get an entry. Pop and fade off of 203. This thing pushes all the way down to 194. Super solid setup. That's exactly what we were looking for. It ends up playing out, but we don't get an entry. Now, if you've been with me for a while and you remember, go watch my last trading recap video on NVIDIA. I thoroughly break down how my mistake earlier in the month, even though it was a winning day, I took yesterday's trading session into today's trading session. And this is really the same setup, but I remembered that mistake that I made at the start of the month, and I made sure not to do that this month. So, I missed this entry here, and I'm like, dang it, okay, fine. I'm a risk manager before I'm a trader. Today, I'm looking for the complete opposite. I'm looking for a dip and rip, pullback long, however you want to call it, off my 209.25. So I know in the back of my mind, all right, well, I just missed this setup yesterday. My thesis was correct. I know I'm looking for this, but the difference this time is there's no FOMO. I am cool, calm, and collective. I don't feel any urgency. I don't feel like I need to hurry up and take the shot. I'm just going to wait, follow my rules, be disciplined. And if it sets up, it sets up. That's the biggest difference. Remember, with that NVIDIA trade, I believe it was the first week of this month. Go watch that. I actually broke down that video in an individual video as well. I'm sorry, I broke down that trade in the individual video itself. And I explained to you how, man, I just missed out on a big payday on NVIDIA. And by missing that, it affected my psychology coming into today's session. So that's number one. I learned from that mistake at the start of this month. And I made sure, right, today this sets up. Yesterday has nothing to do with today. So now that we got that covered, I take my shot here, right? Pull back long off of 209.25. Plan your trade, trade your plan. Now, I don't trade the first 2 minutes. So when I see us get this pullback here and buyer step up, and we actually start up here, we pull all the way down, buyer step up and push that thing higher, I'm calm now. I don't care. I understand, like, hey, yesterday has nothing to do with today. If this sets up, this sets up. I take my shot, and this was an aggressive entry. We'll go here on TradeZella in a little bit. But I plan my trade, traded my plan, and I followed my rules. I avoided that first 2 minute candle. I get cues ripping through the upside. I take my shot here. I hold my water. We get this break through the high day. I end up getting this push all the way up into here. So in the live trading session, you'll hear me say, hey, I'm up 10% at this high day. And this is the second lesson here. I don't trade my P&L and I don't set profit targets. I say, hey, I'm up 10% here roughly, but I'd rather just take the loss. I don't care if I lose this trade because I know if I can get this breakout, I'm going to get the bigger move. So you'll see, we keep getting this push here into this high day and we keep rejecting. Sellers are stepping in, pushing this thing lower. I mean, you can see, look at this wick here, right? That shows you we got this push into the high day and we're rejected. So I said, you know what? I don't really care about that. I'd rather just take my loss. As you know, and what I'm trying to teach you, I'm only focused on high RR trades because this is just a one-to-one, right? I don't care about that. So this is why it's very important to not trade your P&L. And this is hard to do for some folks because you see, all right, we're at the high day. We get the high day push. Maybe I should get out here because I keep seeing sellers step in. But I'm thinking, you know what? If I lose this trade, it's a good loss. It's a big RR trade if it works out, and I'm risking right under the low a day to make X amount. So that's the second lesson here. The third lesson is I just taught you, right, how to play the reclaim. And what I love about this is sometimes the reclaim is actually easier to play because now price action developed, and you can kind of see where you can place your stop loss here. So you see all this sets up, right? Give me one sec. See that? That's structured. So I'm cool setting my stop loss under here if I play the reclaim here. So you see, we ended up reclaiming this with momentum. And what does that do? Right? Fuels this thing higher. You get the break to the high day easily. So this is what I mean when I say, hey, this is how you play the reclaim. We ended up getting a break and retest here. So since buyers actually did defend this thing and push this thing higher, now when we fall under it, you know this is a no trade zone. So we're not even looking to take a short under here. So we ignore this. So when this thing falls lower, which it did, you're like, okay, if this reclaims with momentum, I'm looking for my shot here because buyers actually did defend that. Now, if buyers, we pulled back and buyers never showed their hand and we just fell under, then you would not play the reclaim. You would just be waiting for another break, retest, and then look for that continuation. So I really hope that makes sense. I just wanted to give you a live visual here on how to play the reclaim. Everything is easier to say in hindsight, so you'll actually see that in the live trading session, which will be out before this. So I really want to hit on that, on how to play the reclaim. Buyers did defend this and push this thing higher. So when we fall under it, when you get that reclaim with momentum, right, it's the same stop loss. Now you're just looking for an entry point, and then you get this push into the high day. And look how clean this was versus all of this at open. Hope that makes sense there. So let's go here to TradeZella. Solid trade. Solid trade. Plan your trade, trade your plan. Very happy with this trade. Good analysis. Less is more. Let's go here to really the running P&L. I was up 5,000 plus on this trade. And I really want to hit on this. And, I try and explain things a little thoroughly so you can, step into my mind and see how I'm looking at things. So, of course, I sell 90% into that very big push. Super solid trade. Now, the reason, just makes sense. The reason I ended up, right, leaving runners here is because, as we know, I always say there's no such thing as a perfect buy or a perfect sell. But stick with me here. Remember, this is all in hindsight. This is all in hindsight. That's done. But let's focus on market open. I just got into a trade right here, and we get this push. So I'm thinking, all right, bro, I just caught the bottom. I mean, no such thing as a perfect buy or sell, but I just got a sniper entry. The only way I get stopped out on this trade is if it's a complete reversal. You can see, nice little bear trap squeeze, feels this move higher. We saw that. So I ended up leaving 10% of my position here because I know, man, if this thing can start to trend higher, which you can clearly see it's doing right now, if this thing can start to trend higher, I just caught the bottom. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So that's another thing on, hey, don't really trade your P&L because I really would have capped myself out a ton here if I just sold into this high day push. But I knew I'm looking for the bigger RR trade. That's the main thing. Two, I did leave some runners because I know, man, if this thing can get over this and we can get over our key level here, this is like I said, no such thing as perfect, but I feel like, man, I just got the perfect buy here. I caught the bottom. I mean, right? I'm going long and I caught the bottom. That's beautiful. So back to TradeZella. I really just want to hit on this because, right, we're up 54. I sold 90% there. I sold 5 here, and then I sold 5 here, right? I let market structure take me out. You'll see that in the live trading session. And I'll add that clip here. So the thing is, for some, this may seem like, wow, that's a very aggressive entry. You see time of entry with that 632, but I trade on the 2-minute time frame. So that 2-minute candle did close, and we were about 20 seconds away from our new candle forming. But once I saw buyers step up very aggressively, I took my shot. It was a great trade. I was in roughly 7 minutes, zero drawdown. I was up 600, on the pretty much as soon as I got in, and I held my water. I managed this on the 5-minute. You'll see that in the live trading session. I'll put that at the end of this video, but I really want to hit on this. Like, less is more. Now, you always hear me say that you can't judge your performance as a trader based on wins or losses. How can you? Because it's all a random outcome. You base your performance as a trader based on following the rules, being disciplined. Less is more. Now, I say that because, right, let's look at last week. Last week, I ended the week negative 3,800. For me, slow week, base hit type of week. My one trade today wiped out an entire week of losses and some. My week before that, I made roughly $4,500. My one trade today made more than an entire week of trading. And then, of course, my first week, we were hot. We made a little bit over 7,000. So I say these things to say that less is more. You don't need to trade every day and take a lot of trades to make a lot of money. And I really hope that makes sense. You always got to have a long-term mindset, right? I was on a 3-day losing streak. Some traders would tilt on that. Me, I look at it as data. I just went on a crazy 90-day run. And then I took 3 high probability shots and they weren't winners. So be it, right? I'm not going to go on tilt. I trust my edge. I trust my system. The biggest difference that that I took the trades on my losing days and on my winning days is nothing. What I did today was nothing different on my losing days. I really hope that makes sense. So I really want to hit on that. Less is more. This week is pretty much over. Tomorrow the market is closed. Friday is a half day, and within one trade, we made over $4,000 in the week. So I really want to hit on that on, always think about your next 100 trades. You have to always think about that. If you're focused on short term and you have a short term mindset, you're putting unnecessary added stress on your plate. You're thinking about winning the day, winning the week. I never think about that. I don't care to, right? I'm always thinking long term. Okay, today wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good week, but let me stay focused for my next 100 trades, compound interest, right? So I really hope that makes sense. I know some people cashed out on this, which is really, really cool, right? Plan your trade, trade your plan. And I was patient this week. Monday and Tuesday, I didn't touch anything. There was no setups there. My setup did occur, but I didn't get a good entry. Yesterday, Tesla price action wasn't good. You see me break that down. And today, my setup occurred and I took my shot. So, if you come into the market and your trade is already planned out, I promise you it makes life easier, right? All the hard work is done when the market is closed. When we show up, it should be easy. We're reacting. Something that Mark Douglas says is the ultimate goal as a trader is to trade without reservation and hesitation. Whenever you see your setup occur, take your shot. You have to. There's no thinking. It's all probabilities. You have to take your shot when it sets up. So hope this helps. I really want to give you guys this lesson. I felt like it was a lot of good things to hit on. Some people, they don't really understand when I say I don't set profit targets. So I hope that makes sense. Like, hey, I'm getting this push into the high day, and I'd rather take my loss instead of selling at the high day because I know if this thing can rip through and the overall market is bullish and we're trending, this thing can really rip. And as you can see, that's exactly what we ended up doing. We pushed through that high day and we ripped to the upside. And look at this trend, right? We got a nice squeeze under here, right? Nice little bear trap. We know this is a no trade zone, so we're not even looking to short under 209. And look at the reclaim. As soon as you get that reclaim, beautiful continuation to the upside, holding this high day as support, break and retest to the high day. The dip is your friend, your best friend actually. So if we can get over this 214.85, we can move higher. Unfortunately, I got stopped out on my runners. I still got the big chunk of the trade all the way up into this high day push. But I hope that makes sense. I really do. So I appreciate the love, support. I hope this helps. Let's keep this thing going. And super solid way to end the month. I'm very happy with that. I took one trade this week. We'll see how Friday goes, but super solid way to end the month. I appreciate you guys. This was a great month, a great performance month for me personally. I went on a crazy 9 day winning streak. I've only had 3 red days, all probability high setups. So I'm very happy with this month's performance. A lot of things to work on for sure, and that's for all of us. There's no such thing as perfection. So your winning days, your losing days, study them. What can you do differently? What can you tweak to improve? So I'm very excited for December. I appreciate the love, support. We're growing as a community, which is really cool to see. It makes me happy when you guys see me the trades that you take off the pre-market plans and you're cashing out, which is super cool. A lot of you are starting to understand how I trade. You're starting to apply it yourself. You're starting to read things differently. And my biggest thing is simplicity. That's it. Just key levels, price action. That's it. That's all she wrote. So hope this helped. Hope you guys are able to learn, and I will see you guys on the next one. Apple again. Need this 2 minute counter to close here. Trading my chart here, not my P&L. I was up 10% there, but I don't really care about that. I can see a lot of wicks right here. So there are sellers sitting there. Was up there at the high day, but I'd rather just take the L. Trading my chart, not my P&L. Waiting for the bigger move. Yep. 10% left. This is my new stop loss here. Nice. Beautiful. 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 Right off the pre-market plan. Right off the pre-market plan. Right off the pre-market plan. Okay, so stop loss is here. I got 5 left. I just want to see what happens. Beautiful day. 5,200. Solid. Right off the pre-market plan. Pull back long. It's exactly what we were looking for. Stop loss on the rest is 210.97. I only have 5 left, so quick work day.